Teyada Bhekanze Bhekanze Maha Bhekanze Raja Samugati Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyada Kanze Ben Kanze Maha Ben Kanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Sa Maha Sarva Siddhi Phala Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyasam Buddhaya Teyata Bekanze Maha Bekanze Raja Samugate Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalahu. Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya. Teyata Beganze Maha Beganze Raja Samugate. Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalahu. Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya. Teyada Beganze Maha Beganze Raja Samugate. Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalahu. Om Namo Bhagavate Guru Bedurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samya Sambuddhaya. Teyata Beganze Maha Beganze Raja Samugate. Harini Samaha Sarva Siddhi Phalahu. Please turn to page 10. Page 10. Together we can do this refuge and bodhicitta. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Supreme Assembly Supreme, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. Through virtuous actions like generosity, may I reach Buddhahood to help all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly Supreme, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. Through virtuous actions like generosity, may I reach Buddhahood to help all beings. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly Supreme, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. Through virtuous actions like generosity, may I reach Buddhahood to help all beings. I go for refuge unto the three jewels. I confess every non-virtue and misdeed. I rejoice in the virtues of wanderers. In my mind, I hold on to awakening. In the Buddha, Dharma, and Great Assembly, I take refuge till enlightenment is reached. To accomplish the aims of self and others, I shall arouse the mind of awakening. Having aroused the mind of great awakening, as my guests, I shall take care of every being. I shall practice pleasing bodhisattva conduct. May Buddhahood be achieved to help all beings. Then page 11. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from happiness without suffering. May they abide in equanimity, freed from the bias of attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separated from happiness without suffering. May they abide in equanimity, freed from the bias of attachment and aversion to those near and far. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they not be separate from happiness without suffering. May they abide in equanimity, free from the bias of attachment and aversion to those near and far. So anyway, good evening to everyone. Nathan, I have made you a co-host, so if anybody else is seeking to enter this room, please admit them. Ask them for the secret handshake. If they give you the right handshake, then you can admit them. Anyway, so we continue in this kind of going through this sadhana, the Sambhogakaya medicine Buddha practice, which was first composed, or at least the oldest sadhana that we do have for this particular Dharma tradition, was composed by, incidentally, the first Chungsang Rinpoche, Rigzin Chokyi Drakpa. Rigzin Chokyi Drakpa was a contemporary of the fifth Dalai Lama. In fact, earlier, Rigzin Chokyi Drakpa was put into prison by the fifth Dalai Lama's government. The fifth Dalai Lama is the first of all the Dalai Lamas to assume to assume secular political authority over especially Central Tibet, and then in varying degrees, expanding out. And also that his government was the government that kind of united the different parts of Tibet and forming what is known as the Ganden Podrang. The Ganden Podrang is the official name of the government of the fifth Dalai Lama. So from the fifth Dalai Lama, then down to the 14th Dalai Lama, Tibet was ruled by Ganden Podrang. So because of that time, of these political circumstance, the Dalai Lama's government, the fifth Dalai Lama's government, imprisoned Drikung Chokyi Drakpa based on some accusations that Rigzin Chokyi Drakpa, being the key kind of representative of the Drikung area, which is an area, as well as the Drikung Kagyu lineage, based on the fact that he was one of the key figures of that area, they imprisoned him because there was rumors that the Drikung area and therefore the Drikung authorities might challenge the newly formed government. So some complicated history there for sure. But it is said that it did not take long before they became friends. And one, I think if I remember the account correctly, the fifth Dalai Lama went to the prison and saw Chokyi Drakpa, and then they started to interact and to talk, and as a result, they became friends, and then Chokyi Drakpa was released, so a happy ending to that story. So Rigzin Chokyi Drakpa was one of the, probably you could say, after Drikung Kyopa Rinpoche Jigten Sungpa, Chokyi Drakpa's influence on Drikung Kagyu, I would say, is the strongest after the founder. In many ways, he was, as I said last week, I think, a sort of a Renaissance man. So that's how he has the title or the honor, the appellation of Gunkian. Gunkian, literally all-knowing, is a quality of the Buddha, all-knowing. So in this context, to call a Lama Gunkian all-knowing, it's not like literally, and for sure it is not like the theistic God being all-knowing, or Santa Claus for that matter, I guess. He knows whether you've been good or bad, and you know whether you'll get presents or lumps of coals. So first of all, Buddhists are not all-knowing in that way. Then secondly, to refer to this or that Lama as Kuntian is to say that this is someone who knows not only the Dharma, but knows in a profound way many other fields of knowledge. And one of the fields of knowledge of Chogi Drakpa, or Chodra, to be kind of shortened to Chodra, is medicine. So he learned Tibetan medicine and then himself formulated a number of very famous remedies for the illnesses that were prevalent during his time. Then among other things, he also have a formula for a common precious pill medicine. And there's a class of medicine in Tibetan medicine called precious pills. So if you Google precious pills or Rinchen pills, Rinchen like jewel or precious, if you Google precious pills, Rinchen pills, you will see online people selling them. Mainly these days, precious pills made by the Mensikang in Dharamshala, which is the main medical facility outside of Tibet. They make these precious pills, these Rinchen Rilbus. Right now, I think they're selling maybe 9 to 10 or 11 types of these precious pills, and they are all for like different purposes. So this is different from like the Dharma pills that you might get, you know, at like Dharma events. Certain lamas give out these blessing pills. These are different. These are pharmacological medicinal pills. And these precious pills are used prophylactically, especially to kind of generally to for general maintenance of health and balance within the body. So if you don't have a particular illness, you might take one or another type of these precious pills, maybe twice a year or once a year. But if you have particular illness, then your doctor might prescribe these precious pills of one type or another, and like, you know, take it every 3 days, you know, take it for a month, so 10 of these pills. So in particular, the precious pill that Chogi Drakpa was famous for is the Drangjo, Drikung Drangjo Ryona, is the cooling black pills. Drikung Drangjo Ryona is the particular precious pill that Chodra was famous for making, and we know then from the colophon of this text that he, after making these precious pills, all the precious pills, even now, after making, then a drupchen needs to be performed, an extended retreat for a few days often needs to be performed to empower and bless the precious pills. So we know from the colophon here that Chodra would use this sadhana to bless the Rana, the black pills that he was famous for. So before I go on to the sadhana itself, anyone, any questions based from last week or in between last week and this week? You thought of some questions? Maybe we can start with that. if no question, then so last week towards the end, I sort of very quickly gave you what I have identified as if you want to do this practice, but not do it from cover to cover, how or which parts you should do, right? So let me give you an anecdote. This relates to like Tibetan Thangka painting, and also relates to, actually this relates more to, it will apply to Thangka painting, but the original kind of my association was a few years back, for a period of 2-3 years, I myself, through my contacts from my previous life, not literally, but when I was a college professor, so through contacts from there, I started to, for 2-3 years, Khenpo Chöpel, who was in Pittsburgh, and Lama Sonam in Boston, and myself, 3 of us, would go to different colleges and universities, invited by them to go make sand mandalas. So for 2-3 years, we did that. And each time we go and make a sand mandala, the question usually asked is, well, they can observe that the design of the mandala is quite fixed. So then often as the design is being drawn on the surface, they would ask like, or maybe not clear, clear to us, like, so is this like a fixed design, or is he, referring to Khenpo Chöpel, who is the one drawing the grid, or is he making it up as he goes, you know? And we're like, no, it follows a set of principles, and it follows tradition, you know. So particular Buddhists have particular types of mandala. And so then people are not surprised by that, you know. Then they'll be like, oh, yeah, makes sense, you know. It follows, you know. But they often become surprised when they learn that then within that, you know, general kind of principle, there is also plenty of room for, in this context, what you might call creativity or necessity. Yeah, so certain things you cannot change if you want to follow the tradition, but also many places. For example, if this quadrant of the mandala has to be white as the predominant color because of the 5 Buddha families, you cannot turn it purple, right? But in keeping it white, depending on circumstance, depending on skill, you could have shades of white going on. Then to bring out the white, you know, to highlight the white area, right, you could outline it with black, right, to kind of bring out the color. And so likewise, the red quadrant, right? You could do certain things. Then when the instruction says, you know, on the 4 corners, there are 4 vases with flowers. If you, you know, if you have time, if you have skill, your flowers could be very fancy, and your vase could be very fancy. Yeah? So the same principle is involved in sadhanas. Yeah? there are certain things that for a sadhana to be complete and to be kind of following the principles laid down by tradition, by the masters, there are elements and arrangements that should not be turned upside down. But then after that, whether you have basic offerings or elaborate offerings, that's all like kind of, these ornamentation in between notes, just like even in music, right? So you have the notes, right? Then if you are really fancy, you could introduce some ornamentation within the context of the general melody. So same with the sadhanas. And it's also within this context that Jamgon Gongzhu added things. So he added things because he was trained, very trained. Jamgon Gongzhu is one of the most educated, definitely Gunkian, like all-knowing. Although, interestingly, they did not call him Gunkian, but he would be Kunkian. If there was a Kunkian, he would be, because he knew so much, right? So he then introduced the different parts to kind of, give this sadhana a more robust form. In part, it's because by his time, right, in the late 18th century, ritual practice and ritual tradition in Tibetan monasteries have become very fancy. Very fancy. If you look at the ritual texts used by, say, Kyoba Rinpoche in the 12th century, Jigten Sumgun in the 12th century, they are not at all fancy. If you look at that, you will see that they were meant for one person doing the sadhana. So no elaborate things that involve, right, 4 or 5 people at least. Like someone to hold this, someone to hold that, someone to use this instrument, someone to use that instrument. All of that, are things that kind of developed between Kyoba Rinpoche's time and down to our present time. And Drigung Chodra was one of the key figures within Drigung to really make kind of Drigung ritual traditions and Drigung sadhana. Sadhanas are not just ritual, it's also contemplative. But Chodra was one of the figures who really expanded on this. And so no surprise, today, majority of the ritual texts that are practiced in Drigung monasteries, as well as Drigung retreat centers, were composed by Chodra. Were composed by Drigung Chodra. So, so I said, if you want to do, so let me now then go over again. If you want to do this practice on a regular basis, then you start with page 10, Refuge and Bodhicitta section. There, even though in this sadhana, on the top, right, it says, I invite the oceans of gurus, 3 jewels, and victorious ones, together with their retinues, Om Bajra Samaja, right? This is not necessary as a daily or regular practice. So you can leave that top part out. Instead, you start with, in the Buddha, Dharma, and Assembly Supreme, that one. Then you can continue on to this longer kind of what's known as the 5-part puja. Normally it's the 7-part, 7-fold puja. This particular one here is the 5 parts, the 5-part puja. And this comes from the Hevajra Tantra. This comes from the Hevajra Tantra. So you can continue on to do this or not do. It's okay. If you don't do this, then the next page is the 4 immeasurables. So if you just do the refuge prayer, which was composed by Atisha, then do the 4 immeasurables. That's typically how all sadhana practice begins. Yeah. And if you want to be a more, Drigong style, then you would also add at the beginning aspiration and action bodhicitta recitations. All mother sentient beings, limitless as the sky, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, that one. Yeah? That one is a very famous bodhicitta recitation composed by Kyopa Rinpoche. In the lineage, we call it by its nickname. It's those who hate me, Dadama, because those are very strong words, And for Drigong practices, to always start with that really highlights the importance that Kyopa Rinpoche places on bodhicitta. Bodhicitta as a way of understanding everything that we practice. Of course, all lineages of practice emphasize the importance of bodhicitta, no doubt about that. But the degree that everything, it seems, that Kyopa Rinpoche taught, somehow he brings it back to bodhicitta. I have, access to just a tiny part of the 12 volumes of Kyopa Rinpoche's collected works. But even the tiny part, which is randomly selected, it's always bodhicitta. No matter what topic he talks about, somehow he brings it back to bodhicitta. Bodhicitta. So here also important that bodhicitta is not just love and compassion. Love and compassion are the roots of bodhicitta, but this love and compassion has to be informed by wisdom. So only when it's that, then it becomes bodhicitta. Then there is the relative aspect of bodhicitta, then the absolute aspect of bodhicitta. So in following Kyopa Rinpoche's emphasis, then we always start our practice with the Dadangma. So the recitation for aspiration bodhicitta, followed by engagement bodhicitta. Then refuge, this Atisha refuge, very famous one. Then if you want to do this longer 5-part puja from the Hevajra, you can do that. If not, you go to 11, top of 11, the 4 immeasurables. Then after the 4 immeasurables, you see the next line, Ja Hong Bang Ho, thus the field of accumulation dissolves into me. Again, as a daily practice, that line is not necessary. No harm done if you want to do that. Likewise, on page 10, the very top line, no harm done if you want to do it. I'm just saying, more typically, you don't do those two. So one of the sessions at the beginning, in the last retreat, when Lama Kelsang was leading one of the sessions, Lama Kelsang is very trained in how to chant, how to do the sadhanas, the drupchen, the retreats, like group retreat. So Lama Kelsang is very educated in that. So one look and he knows, and so he did not start from the very top. Then other lamas, maybe, not to confuse all of you, just simply went from the top and just continue on. But Lama Kelsang, which with his training and understanding of how ritual texts work, just one glance, he knows. Normally we don't do that if we are just doing a abbreviated session. So again, it's not like there's anything wrong, but rituals have a particular ritual form. And so we are just following these ritual forms. Uh, a word about ritual forms would be that, we should relate to this as skillful conventions. Conventions that if we know how to relate to them, if we know how to practice them, then they can free us, If we don't know how to relate to conventions, even if they are conventions established by the Buddha and his great disciples, then all these conventions can become an obstacle. So there's a meme that I posted a while back that said, tradition is nothing but peer pressure from dead people. So sometimes it feels that way, tradition, 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 And if you really think of it from one perspective, tradition is simply peer pressure from dead people, Then if you look at it that way, you're like, oh yeah, But here, of course, we don't relate to this, or at least we should not relate to this as, this is simply peer pressure from dead people, But we relate to these conventions as, skillful methods that have been used in the past that have delivered results. But these results are not going to come automatically. We need skill on how to handle them. So like from Kyoba Rinpoche's teachings, especially if you begin to, patiently kind of study and take to heart the Gongchik, you'll see that, a main theme for Kyoba Rinpoche is, I would summarize it as, rather than spending your energy and your time trying to figure out what is more profound, what is more effective, which deity, which type of breathing, which type of meditation, which kind of view, which kind of teaching, rather than doing that, what he emphasized is knowing how to practice is in fact more important than what you are practicing. Because what you are practicing, of course, he's assuming, is from the generally accepted teachings of the Buddha. So when it's clear that all that you are drawing from the teachings of the Buddha, from his point of view, they are all equally profound because they all have the same purpose. They're all equally profound. Then at that point, whether they are subjectively profound or not depends on the individual and the individual's capacity and the individual's ability to handle, to skillfully use the practice. So much of our effort, is spent being unsure. Or maybe this is more suitable. Or maybe that is more suitable. Or maybe this is better. Or maybe that is better. Once we get into this picking and choosing, there's no end to picking and choosing. And then you read about, Buddha has 84,000 dharmas. So like, oh my God. Right? From one perspective, it's great. There is 84,000. I'm done with the, one way, one God, one heaven. Right? Then you say, it's great, 84,000. Yeah, just like my example that I always use, going to a Chinese buffet is only good conceptually. Once you actually get there, it's all suffering. I don't know if you have this experience, It's only good as a concept. It's only exciting before you get there. Once you get there, then it's all suffering all the way. Because there are so many things. And there is so little stomach. And if you have self-control and you don't torture your stomach, you will leave with longing. Oh, I didn't get to eat this. Oh, I didn't get to eat this. Oh, I didn't get to eat this. Oh, I didn't get to eat this, you know? And then if you decide to do, you know, mind over matter, so satisfy mind and eat as many things as you want to eat, that's another form of suffering. Same with the 84,000 dharmas. It can also be suffering, you know. So again, in Kyoba Rinpoche's way of talking about this matter, he says all 84,000 constitute a single path to the state of Buddha. That statement is really very meaningful. There's so many nuances there to say that all 84,000 dharmas constitute the single path to Buddha. Now, it's easy to misunderstand and think, oh, you mean I have to practice all 84,000? Well, that is an implication of that statement. But rather than it being overwhelming, the way to look at that is, therefore, whenever you're practicing Dharma, if you know how to practice, if you have the right attitude, nothing is wasted. Nothing is not profound. It's you who is going to make it profound. So then stop, right? Wondering, oh, maybe this is better. Oh, maybe that is better. You know, again, there's no end to that. So anyway, coming back to this, yeah. So after the four immeasurables, then we go straight to the front, self and front generation on page 14. So I'm going to start there today. This is more practical, right? To go over the parts that for sure, you know, you will do. Then maybe in the last class, I will try to cover all the other things that happens during the retreat. And that will be also putting us closer to when the next retreat is going to happen. Yeah. So today I'm going to start then on page 14. The main practice, which is self and front generation. So most of us are probably quite familiar with sadhanas. And most of us are familiar with, more familiar, I would say, with self-generation rather than front generation. First of all, this is generation stage practice. And so then that takes us to the two stages, right? Generation stage and completion stage, constituting the two stages of deity yoga. And deity yoga being the main kind of practice, this distinctive practice found only in Vajrayana and not in Sutrayana teachings, is deity yoga. It is said, Je Rinpoche Tsongkhapa, he says that whereas both in Sutrayana and in Mantrayana, the mind is Buddha, is taught in both, right? In both categories of the Buddha's teachings, whether it's Sutrayana or Mantrayana, that the mind is Buddha, is taught in both. So he says, so therefore, that is not what makes Mantrayana distinctive. What makes Mantrayana distinctive is a method to cultivate the form bodies of Buddhas by relating to this body. And so deity yoga, and particularly the generation stage of deity yoga, is considered like the distinctive feature of Vajrayana. Because it says in Sutrayana, the body, you do not relate to the body as the way secret mantra relates to this body as the mandala of the Buddhas. So this is the distinctive. So therefore, in generation stage, the emphasis is on seeing yourself as Buddha, that your form, not only just your mind or your essence, but your appearance is also Buddha. And this is said to be the way to train and to create the conditions for the manifestation of Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya for the benefit of others. Sambhogakayas and Nirmanakayas exist solely to benefit others. Dharmakaya is what frees you from samsara. Your achieving Dharmakaya frees you from the bondage of samsara. But it is only through Sambhogakaya and Nirmanakaya that we can benefit other beings. Yeah. So here, then within self-generation or generation stage, you can further divide into what's known as self-generation and generation in front, or here called front generation. So in most of the sadhanas that we practice on a daily basis, usually it's only self-generation. But here in a more elaborate sadhana, there is front generation. Other times when front generation also takes place is like certain sadhanas, in fact, have only front generation and no self-generation. Like the Buddha Shakyamuni sadhana that some of us did during Sakadawa. That one only, front generation, Buddha Shakyamuni appearing in the space in front. Yeah. Then another time when both self-generation and front generation occurs is when a lama is preparing to give an empowerment. Then front generation is necessary. And then in terms of front generation, there is the generation into the space in front, as well as generation into the ritual vase, the bumpa, or the torma, the deity torma. So front generation can be in the space in front, or in the torma that is created to represent the deity, or in the bumpa that is going to be used to give empowerment. So front generations have further kind of subdivisions. Here, the front generation is the space in front. Yeah? So let's look at, it begins with Om Swabhava. So that's standard. I'm sure we don't need to talk about that mantra because most of you have received teachings on that already. The only thing to say here is from the state of emptiness, right? So here it means without departing, without like replacing emptiness with form, but within this state of emptiness, which really more specifically, it means when you understand, when you remember that everything is naturally, as they are, already empty of essence, empty of inherent existence. From that state, let all of this unfold. As a method, right? Often, I think, in many books you will read, you go to teachings, you will hear the teacher say, recite Om Swabhava Shuddha Savadama Swabhava Shuddho Hang, and then think, everything dissolve into emptiness, right? You heard of that? Then most of us, try so hard, oh, and if you're good at it, like for like a few minutes, oh, gone. And then you're like, okay, don't open the eyes, don't open the eyes, because once I open the eyes, they're all back. I mean, you have that experience? Huh? Oh, don't think anything, don't think anything. And then you discover, wait, that is a thought, And then you're like, okay, wait, everything is here again, right? Om Swabhava Shuddha Savadama Swabhava Shuddho Hang, is not asking you to, sweep everything away, That is just a technique. When it says, oh, dissolve, like think, everything like dissolve, right? It's a good technique if the technique works for you. It's not a very good technique if the technique doesn't work for you. It doesn't matter who gave the technique, right? If the technique doesn't work for you. Now, how do you know if the technique works for you or doesn't work for you? What is the kind of, how do you define success or failure? Here, success is when what is going to be coming next can spontaneously arise without any obstacles, including obstacles like, wait. If this is here and that's there, wait, this house is too small for this. Maybe I should think I'm in the meadow. If all of that is still going on, then the technique is not working. And of course, at the beginning, it's not going to work. My point is not, if it doesn't work, you have failed. My point is, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and it doesn't work, and you keep doing it that way, it's not going to magically suddenly work. You need to have a shift in your understanding of what is the aim of this technique. The aim of this technique is to cause us to relinquish grasping onto can, cannot, possible, not possible, here, there, up, down, left, right. Let go of all of that. Let go of all of that. In the beginning, it's not so easy to let go of all of that. Of course, that's normal. And then you have to move on to the next and say, oh, and then a lotus, and then a moon, and then appear as medicine Buddha. So at first it's contrived. But please, I would say, please know that here the goal is not to sweep things away. To try to sweep things away, that's nihilism. That's not shunyata. Shunyata is all appearances do not compete. You understand that? All appearances do not compete. And all appearances do not obstruct. Do you understand that? Right now, if table is here, chair cannot be here. Yeah? More importantly is conceptually. Yeah? If table is here, chair cannot be here, right? So these two appearances are competing. But when you understand emptiness, then these appearances don't compete. Table and chair can occupy the same place as a concept. These concepts don't compete. So, as a practical way, when you recite Om Svabhava Shuddha Sarvadharma Svabhava Shuddhaham, just at that point, whatever you understand that you have learned about shunyata, about emptiness, let whatever insight from that you have learned previously, let it come. Then from there, let it be a prompt for you to relinquish fixation. Fixation on this is here, that's there, this is small, this is big, this is long, this is short, this is here, this is self, this is other. Just relinquish that. Don't grasp onto that. They are more profound, for sure, understanding of this part. But this is a good place to start. Then in this, so not so much, I would say don't emphasize so much like visual spaciousness. Again, the visual spaciousness is a method. The real experience that we should aim for at this point is not visual spaciousness, but a felt sense of spaciousness, of boundlessness. Then from there, lotus, moon seed, and yourself appear as medicine Buddha in the Nirmanakaya form, meaning the common representation of medicine Buddha. Color is beryl, as in this, not the opaque lapis lazuli, but more like a beryl, glass, shiny. Possessing the glory of the marks and signs of a perfect Buddha, the 32 and 80 minor. Right hand in the mudra of pressing on the earth. Left is resting in the mudra of equanimity. So that's medicine Buddha. Then of course it doesn't, talk about like right hand, with the medicinal plant. So you can visualize that holding like this medicinal plant. Then right hand, the rest of the fingers touching the ground. Then this holding the plant, the arura plant. Then the 3 dharma ropes of a monk, legs in what we would call full lotus. Then before me, in the center of a 4-petal lotus that appears out of the pam syllable. So in fact, first a pam syllable, then pam syllable turns into a lotus with 4 big leaves, like 4 quadrants, it opens up. Then in the center of that appears a white lotus. Appears a white lotus. Then from the A syllable appears a full moon, a moon disk. And then on that is the Sambhogakaya, medicine Buddha. Then we think, he is the essence of all the Buddhas of past, present, and future gathered. body blue in color. His eyes are like Utpala lotus flowers. Description of beautiful eyes by Indian standards. And he's gazing into the 10 directions, seeing in all directions. Hair is like blue sky, bound, half bound up top. So there's bound up and then also flowing down, because this is a Sambhogakaya form. Then also there's a sun and moon above. Sun is on the left side and moon is on the right side. This is standard. Sometimes in translating into English, it can get confusing. Yeah. I think this is here translated as right and left. Yeah. It's describing from you sitting here. Yeah. When you look at Sambhogakaya Medicine Buddha, right and left. But it's actually from Sambhogakaya Buddha's perspective, is left and right. But Tibetans never make this mistake. Why? Tibetans always describe left, right from the perspective of deities. We always describe left and right from our perspective. It's always my left and right, you know. This just, you know, even something as simple as that, you know, tells us, you know, what's our reference point? Our reference point is always me. Even culturally, reference point is always me. But when Tibetans talk about, you know, if you walk into a temple, with many deities and tankas and statues, if you were speaking Tibetan, in Tibetan you will say, oh yeah, the left hand, the right hand, you know, if you're describing the deity, or not left hand, right hand, then of course it'll be left hand, right hand of the deity. But if you say something like, you know, oh, look at the left side, everybody will know you're talking about stage left, which is the deity's left, and stage right, when it says right. Because, you know, you prioritize the deity's perspective. So left and right is the sun and moon. These protect all wandering beings from poverty and the sicknesses of heat and cold. So the sun will pacify cold sicknesses, and the moon will pacify the heat sicknesses. Excessive cold and excessive heat are two states of imbalances within the Tibetan, Chinese, Indian, Ayurvedic understanding of imbalance. So the sun and moon are there not just for decoration, not that there are sun and moon in the sky and therefore in this visualization they should be there, but they are aspects of the Buddha. He is graced with a crown of various precious jewels of the 5 Buddha families, with Akshobhya as the chief. So basically, this is the 5 Buddha family crown with 5 leaves. In paintings, right, it looks like the 5 leaves are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that, right? In paintings, yeah, all 5. But actually, it's more like a crown, the way we think about a crown. So the 5 leaves are divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a crown. But Akshobhya is the chief. Now, so in this case, it's 1 leaf, 2 leaf, 3 leaf, 4 leaf. Akshobhya sits in the middle. Akshobhya, if you want the details of that visualization, he's in Nirmanakaya form. His right hand is also touching the earth, not holding anything, touching earth. And his left hand is in meditation. And then on the palm is a vajra. That's Akshobhya's, commonly Akshobhya's form is like this. So he sits on top of Medicine Buddha's head. So this tells us that Medicine Buddha belongs to the Vajra family, Akshobhya's Vajra family. Right hand is in the mudra of granting generosity and holding the Arura plant. So now the Medicine Buddha in front, the Sambhogakaya Medicine Buddha, holds his hand this way. This is the giving gesture, the gesture of generosity. But in this case, it says he's also holding the plant. So then he has to hold like this. But this is the gesture of giving, granting generosity. Left hand is in the mudra of equanimity, actually of equipoise. So it's talking about meditation. And holding a begging bowl filled with medicinal nectar. So as a Sambhogakaya form, not only he has crowns, but he has red and white silk robes adorned with various jewels and is seated with legs in Vajrasana, meaning again, what we would call the full lotus position. Page 16, his body is graced with the marks and signs. So this is a description of his physical qualities. And then the next line says his verbal qualities. He possesses the 60 branches of melody. And then the mind qualities, his mind rests evenly in the 100 samadhis. All the different states of samadhi, meditative concentration, he abides in that. So these are qualities of the body, qualities of speech, and qualities of mind. On the top of page 16. Then it says he's surrounded by all the lineage gurus of the medicine tradition. So all around him are all the healers. You can think of all the healers from all different healing traditions around the world, all gathered together, and think that they are all part of the mandala of Medicine Buddha. And maybe Dr. Fauci, there too. Got to pray for him, poor guy. He's doing a thankless job. Then the 4 goddesses. You can also say the 4 Dakinis. So remember there were 4 petals, yeah? So in the front petal is the white medicine goddess who plays a precious lute with her 2 hands. To the right is the yellow medicine goddess, vulture thigh-bone flute. Behind is the red medicine goddess, a human thigh-bone flute, kind of like a horn actually. And then to his left is a green medicine goddess holding a mirror. All 4 are youthful in form, with their hair flowing loosely. They are adorned with various flowers, silks, and jewels. They dwell with legs half crossed in a manner of venerating Bhagavan Medicine Buddha. So what this means, right, venerating, is that they are facing him. So if you want to be more exact, yeah. So the white medicine goddess, her back is towards you, because she's looking at the medicine Buddha. And they sit in the half cross, which means a more relaxed, rather than full lotus. They sit in a more relaxed way, facing, looking towards medicine Buddha. So I talked about, last class at the end, these 4 dakinis with the 4 activities, to pacify, to increase, to magnetize or control, and to destroy. So specific to here, it's all these 4 approaches to healing disease. So think of how the pacifying activities of healing, the increasing of your general health, of your defense, strong, but not like perverted, defense immune system, but just the right, kind of increase of that. Then attracting all the positive conditions, then destroying those things that cause harm. So then they are surrounded even more by the protector Shanglun. Shanglun will be standing like in front. So immediately in front of the Sambhogakaya medicine Buddha is the white dakini, right, facing him. In front of the white dakini, so in front of the white dakini's back, that's where you can visualize the main Dharma protector for the Yuto-Ningtik cycle of Terma. He is a form of Mahakala, here called Shanglun. You can Google him and you'll see how he is depicted. With an assembly of rishis. Rishis are these Indian sages, gods, nagas, planets, stars, gyalpos. Gyalpos are a type of spirit. They are called kingly spirits. So they are very proud. Zen is a type of red looking spirit associated with rocks and mountains. Maras and Ging warriors, these are different types of spirit beings. Like an open pod of sesame seeds, meaning a lot. With hands together venerating the main deity. So they're all kind of looking towards Sambhogakaya medicine Buddha. In that way, you are also one of this whole assembly, but you are in the form of the Nirmanakaya medicine Buddha, all looking towards the Sambhogakaya form, which is actual medicine Buddha. But here, not yet. You still have to invite the wisdom being to dissolve into this shell. Right now, what's generated in front is basically, you can think of it as like the bodies, just the shell. That shell or that container needs to first contain the actual deity, which is called the wisdom beings. So soon, you will dissolve the wisdom beings into this visualization in front. And then at that point, you are to think, now, medicine Buddha, as medicine Buddha, is present. So this kind of brings up the question of, like we say, oh, because especially in the West, this is not something that Tibetans think about a lot because they don't have this baggage. But in the West, it has become such that, often when you hear about the deity practice, right, it's always, you sort of have a sense that, oh, so there's no, because, the text says, there is no other Buddha than your own mind, right? But we take that sometimes too literally, as in there is literally no other Buddha but in your own mind. But you should not take it literally in that way. When it says there is no other Buddha than your own mind, it is saying, don't look for Buddha anywhere else. Your own mind is Buddha already. But it's not literally there are no Buddhas other than your own mind. Then who the heck is Shakyamuni? For one, forget about Amitabha, Akshobhya, and all these other Buddhas. Who in the world was Buddha Shakyamuni? Well, clearly there was someone called Buddha Shakyamuni that lived 2,600 years ago that is not my own mind, It's not symbolic. Likewise, you should not think that medicine Buddha is just an archetype or symbolic. Yes, the ultimate medicine Buddha that you are going to finally achieve or encounter is your own mind. But that doesn't mean, that there isn't a sentient being who was once a sentient being who then became the very first of Buddhas to be called the medicine Buddha. And his attainment, his blessings, they exist. And this is what's in front. So we are medicine Buddha as potential. What has appeared now in front is medicine Buddha as actual. Medicine Buddha that has been actualized as medicine Buddha. Medicine Buddha in training. Yet to. So that's the status, so to say, of the deity generator in front. So here it says, in the center at the three places of the main deity and the four goddesses are the three syllables Om Ah Hong, 3 places, right? Here, crown, throat, heart. From these 3 syllables, light radiates to invite the wisdom beings. That means actual medicine Buddha and his retinue to please come. So then from here on page 17, you can go to 18. So if you have bell, you ring on 17 when you go to, like from the 3 syllables, light radiates to invite the primordial wisdom beings. You can pick up your bell now and start ringing from the natural expanse of reality. And if you have Dhammaru, you play your bell and Dhammaru here. Yeah? And at this point, you visualize, right? These wisdom beings dissolving into what has been generated in front. Then on page 18 at the top, it says, all the invited primordial wisdom beings dissolve inseparably into their respective samaya beings. Then all the worldly spirits from all directions, they also come. But here, they dissolve into the worldly beings like the rishis, the nagas, the maras, the ging, the zen, the gyalpo, they come and gather there. This is a little unusual. In most sadhanas, when you invite beings, at this point, you only invite the wisdom beings. But here, you also invite the mundane, unenlightened beings. So my understanding is that here what you're doing is you're creating sort of the conditions for all types of beings, those that we label friendly, those that we label unfriendly. So maras are usually not friendly. They're demons, cause mischief, cause suffering. Zen spirits, gyalpo spirits, they are kind of sketchy, Some gyalpos are dharma protectors. Some gyalpos are troublemakers. But here the idea is that all types of worldly beings with all sorts of power, they now come to venerate Medicine Buddha. So it's to create the conditions for the transformation of all beings to be devoted to Medicine Buddha. Including, sometimes these are the causes of our disease, our body suffering. So you can think even coronavirus, arriving as a spirit, now devoted to Medicine Buddha. Then you recite Za Hong Bam Ho Samayatishta Len. Za Hong Bam Ho is the 4 syllables to call the wisdom beings and the mundane beings to come. Za is to hook or to invite. Hong, Za Hong Bam Ho. Yeah? So Za is the hook. Hong, yeah? Za Hong Bam Ho. Yeah? Za is the hook. Hong is the rope, the lasso that pulls in. Hong is the chain that puts them together. And Ho is the bell. The sound of the bell, it says, paralyzes them, causing them to kind of lose control and become dissolved together. But the real essence of these 4 are the 4 immeasurable minds. With love, you call their attention. With compassion, you bring them in. With joy, they join together. Then with equanimity, they're completely inseparable. These are the 4 immeasurable minds. And Samayatishta Len is, may your commitment make you remain here stably. May your commitment, so it's like Medicine Buddha's commitment, Medicine Buddha's Samaya, Medicine Buddha's Bodhisattva vow to benefit beings. And by the power of that vow, it is saying, may you remain stable here. So that's the Samayatishta Len. Then here, here it says, go to the bottom of 18. And here the English is such that it's linked to the line before. What Jamgon Kongtrul added in here is the inviting of the empowerment deities to come give empowerment. Okay? So Jamgon Kongtrul added this middle section. From after Samayatishta Len, the part that says, Bhagavan, it is great that you have come here. That all the way to the second last line at the bottom, which is our bodies are filled and defilements are purified, the excess liquid overflows above. That was added by Jamgon Kongtrul. So if you do daily practice, you don't need to do this middle section, but instead you do at the last line. And the last line, if you just look at the Tibetan and not then the English there, it's simply Akshobhya is at the great bliss chakra of Bhagavan Medicine Buddha. Meaning you just see that Akshobhya is at the crown of Medicine Buddha, Sambhogakaya Medicine Buddha. Then the 4 goddesses, each one of them has a Medicine Buddha sitting on top of their crown. And this is the samaya. This is the bond. This is the vow appearing in the form of these Buddhas that is sealing in the wisdom beings together with the samaya beings. The original sadhana of Chökyi Drogpa is like this. What Jamgon Kongtrul added is the giving of empowerment by the 5 Buddha families, then the nectar that is poured in, then the nectar overflows and becomes these Buddhas on top of the heads of what's in front. But in Chodra's original text, there is no inviting of empowerment deities to give empowerment. Simply the wisdom beings that have dissolved, you want to seal that, so to say. You want to bind them together, and you bind them in terms of visualization with the 5 medicine Buddhas, or Akshobhya in the Sambhogakaya Buddha, and the 4 goddesses, 4 medicine Buddha. And that's the samaya. So now at the bottom of page 18. Then the crowns of the worldly ones are sealed with a 9-pointed vajra. So on top of their heads, there is 9-pointed vajras. So that means, the worldly beings that have been invited here or dragged here, depending on whether they're cooperating or not, they are locked inside this visualization so that they cannot run around to cause trouble, so to say. That's the meaning here. Then the wisdom beings that have come, they are locked inside, not by the force of the vajra, but by the power of their commitment, which is their bodhicitta, that they will not leave. That's the meaning here. Yeah? Now we're at the top of 19. Good? Yes? Any questions? Feel free to ask.
I have a question.
Okay.
In terms of the dakinis,
Uh-huh.
each one is holding a particular instrument or bone.
Yes. They're all instruments and mirror. 3 musical instruments and 1 mirror.
Yes. Is there any meaning to those objects?
Not explicitly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I'm going to share the link because I know in last week's class you talked about the activities.
The 4 activities, yes.
The 4 activities. So I shared the link there in case anyone wants to watch that.
Yeah, the 4 activities. So yeah, so these 4 goddesses, the things they hold in their hands, they are basically like offerings for Medicine Buddha. Playing music, and mirror is sort of an offering of form. Offering a form of like things that are pleasing visually. Lute is like a guitar, you know. Then there's a flute that is like this. And then the other one also called a flute, but it's more this kind. There's this like a recorder, and then there's a flute like this. Piper, and then Krishna, like that. Then the lute, then mirror. Then in Chodra's text, the offerings are done, but simply as the 8 offerings, without elaborating into the verse that is in Gongtru's. So at the center of 19 there, Om Sarva Tathagata Argam Pratishta Swaha. So there you know, you should substitute after Argam, Padyam, Pushpe, Dupe, Aloke Gende Nevede Shabda. Yeah. So that is the 8 offering. Then skip 20, 21, 22. You should do this praise. So in the praise, you know, pretty straightforward. Yeah, praising the physical qualities of Medicine Buddha, then praising the verbal qualities, then praising the mental or the heart qualities. Beautiful, the words here. It says that his inexhaustible speech, which is the dharmas of the provisional meaning, are gently revealed. So through speech, he teaches all different provisional meaning that he will teach what is suitable to each being. That layers and layers of meaning are gradually revealed through his speech. Then these limitless secrets of enlightened mind are profound, luminous, and great. They are like a great ocean, depthless and undisturbed. So this mind that is deep and profound and can never be disturbed. I prostrate to you who reveals the definitive meaning through the powers of inexhaustible samadhi. So speech is associated with provisional meaning, and mind is associated with definitive meaning. And these two don't contradict. The basis for giving the provisional meaning dharmas through words is the realization of the definitive meaning on the mind, on the heart level. And so all 3, body, speech, and mind, do not contradict. Then 23, you thoroughly fill the vase of individual's mind with the exquisite stream of the nectar of the sublime dharma of your enlightened speech. You reveal the wonderful path to all that desire liberation. I prostrate to and praise all the lineage gurus. So here for ritual things, every time you see on page 22, starting on page 22, at the end of the 4th line of each verse, when it says like, I prostrate to the Buddha of lapis light. If you have a bell, you can ring. And then the end of the next verse, I prostrate to you with 2 hands in the mudras, you can ring. So chaksao lo, there you can ring the bell. Then 23 again, continuing from there. Then homage to the 4 goddesses. Then finally homage to Shanglon and all the spirits that have come. I praise you. Here it says. So interestingly here, it doesn't say I prostrate to you, because they're worldly beings. We only prostrate to enlightened beings. And so it doesn't say I prostrate, it just says I praise you at the very end of that section on 23. Then you continue to the visualization for recitation. So here, a little detailed, yeah. At the heart center is a moon mandala. In the center is the syllable Hong, surrounded by the root mantra. At the heart center of the Bhagavan. So this first one is yourself. Inside your heart is a Hong syllable on a moon mandala. Then in the heart center of the Bhagavan, that means in front, there it's something more detailed, complex. It's a six-sided red heart. It's like a tent with six-sided sides, ruby in color. From those six sides, light and light rays stream out. From the tips of these rays, the six sages emanate. Here are the six Buddhas in Nirmanakaya form, emanate from these light rays. And so basically their role is they appear in the six realms of samsara. So this is Medicine Buddha appearing as these six sages. Sage is literal, it means six Buddhas in the Nirmanakaya form. They emanate from these lights. So 24, the top, these emanate to clear away all the anguish and awareness, meaning suffering and the causes of suffering. Anguish is suffering. Yeah, and unawareness is the cause of suffering. Lack of wrong thoughts, wrong view. Then in the center of that heart, or in the heart center, is the Gati crystal tube channel standing like a clear crystal pillar. Now, this is the central channel. From it, hundreds of light rays emanate. From these, the forms of the 100 families of peaceful and wrathful deities emanate. Then inside the hollow of that channel, yeah, so you see the central channel of the Medicine Buddha in front of you. And from the entire channel, lights just go out in all directions, emanating the peaceful and wrathful Buddhas that pervade everywhere. Right? So first is, there's a six-sided jewel. There, what emanates out are lights that turn into the six Buddhas that go to the six realms. Then next is the whole tube, the central channel, giving out light that turns into the peaceful and wrathful deities. Then inside now, that channel, and this is on the heart level, on a lotus and moon seed is a blue five-pointed vajra standing upright. In the upper prongs are the five families of the father and mother Buddhas in union. In the lower five prongs are the five families of the father and mother wrathful deities in union. Then in the middle section of the vajra, standing in the center of a sun mandala, is a Hong syllable, also blue in color. And around that is the mantra. Very complex, yeah? Then at the heart centers of each of the four goddesses are moon discs and Ha-ri-ni-sa, meaning white dakini has the Ha syllable, yellow dakini has the Ri syllable, red dakini has has the ni syllable. Green dakini has the sa syllable. Hari ni sa. And it says, at the heart center of the worldly spirits, visualize their individual respective seed syllables. We don't know what they are, so don't worry about it. It's just saying that in their heart too are these syllables, which is to symbolize or to represent their Buddha nature. And so even these worldly beings, on the relative level, they are worldly beings and they could potentially cause trouble, they could potentially help. But now that they have all been brought to this visualization, even if they are potentially can cause harm, when you visualize that in their heart centers are their syllable, which is their Buddha nature, then this pacifies whatever harm that they might bring. Then recite mantra. Here I will say the visualization in the heart. You can do, right, all these in stages. I would recommend that. So meaning, you can start with first just the Hong in your own heart. Maybe even like months of just doing this, the Hong in your own heart. Then more generally, then as for what's in front, you think in all your hearts, rays of light are just coming out as blessings. That's enough. Then you just focus on the Hong in your heart and you recite the mantra. After that has become stable, then you can introduce the next element, which is the six-sided, the six-sided jewel that is in the heart of the Buddha in front. The six-sided jewel, right? Red, ruby red, radiate light that becomes the six Buddhas that are present in the six realms. So you can add that when this visualization becomes stable. Then you can add that. Then at some point you can add the next part of that, which is from the central channel, the whole channel, lights go out. And they become the 100 families of the peaceful, wrathful deities. Then when that has become stable, then you can go to, at the heart center, there is a moon disk on a lotus on which there is a 5-pronged vajra. Stabilize that. Then when that is stable, then you can visualize the top 5 prongs are the 5 peaceful Buddhas, male, female. The 5 lower prongs are the 5 wrathful Buddhas, male, female in union. Then you can recite mantra. Then when that is stable, in the center of that vajra, now there is a sun disk. Now there is a sun disk. And a blue Hong syllable with the mantra surrounding. Then you can look at that Hong. Then more generally, I would say, if you want, then now, right? In the heart of the Buddha in front is a red Hong. In your heart is a blue Hong. So then you can also do that visualization whereby light is coming from the red Hong into your blue Hong, and your blue Hong is giving out light that goes into the red Hong in front. So your blue Hong going out is to make offerings. To make offerings to the Buddha in front. Then from the red heart, the light that comes is the blessings. But understand that the real offering you're making, it's not stuff. It's not stuff, but it's your commitment to dispel all obstacles, to dispel all confusion, to actualize all the qualities. So your practice, your cultivation, that's the offering that comes from your heart, from that blue Hong that dissolves into Medicine Buddha's heart. And from Medicine Buddha's heart, the so-called blessings that come is nothing other than, nothing not in the small sense, nothing, but in the big sense, Nothing as in, it's that which will make you wake up. That's the ultimate blessing. Then when you are done reciting the number of mantras that you want to recite, then it says in the notes here, yeah, recite the Sanskrit vowels and consonants, and also the Ye Dharma, right? Because here it says Sanskrit vowels and consonants, 100-syllable mantra of Vajrasattva, and mantra of interdependence. But what you should do is Sanskrit alphabet, right? The Ali Kali, that's what they're called. You should recite Ali Kali together with Ye Dharma as one, and repeat 3 times. Not 3 Ali Kali, 3 Ye Dharma, and 3 Vajrasattva. Not like that. I think this is a Drigong thing, particular to Drigong, and also like in central Tibet, right? In that area, they do it this way, it seems. Again, Lama Kelsang was the one that did it that way. And I've seen elsewhere, Drigong people doing it this way. Meaning, Ali Kali, first recitation of Ali Kali, then continue to Ye Dharma, yeah, together. Then again Ali Kali, Ye Dharma. Then again Ali Kali, Ye Dharma. And then 3 Vajrasattvas. Make sense? Is this clear? Good. Then recite the lineage prayer. Actually, it's not lineage prayer. The translation should be like supplicating the Lama. Supplicating the Lamas. It's a little bit different from lineage prayer. Lineage prayer, yeah, this is supplicating the Lamas. 25, 26, 27, 28. This we will talk about in the next class. You know, so many details here that are just wonderful. 29. So then, until 29, that really beautiful supplication. Then you go to the end, which is page 40, the top of 40. This is praise. So do the praise and the aspiration. Yeah. Then go to the bottom of 40. So the middle part, leave that out. And here, no need to recite syllable 100-syllable mantra because you already done that. Yeah. Then you go to Om. You fulfill all the aims of sentient beings in accord with that. Please bestow siddhis. Even though you depart to the Buddha realms, please come back again. Then Om Vajramu on 41. The primordial wisdom beings depart to their natural abodes. Then the Samaya beings dissolve back into yourself. So the shell that's out there dissolve into you. And all the worldly ones then depart and go to wherever they came from. Then you do dedication prayer. And there is no like special dedication prayer in this text. And you just do whatever usual dedication prayer that you do. So this is a quote unquote short, regular practice that you can do. Yes, not that short by Western standards, but quite short by Tibetan standards. Yes, Katya, unmute yourself and so that we can hear you.
Yes, thank you. I got lost at on page 25 with the mantra.
Mantra. Page 25. Mhm.
Yeah, could you say again, what word was
Alikali
came?
ye dharma, alikali ye dharma, alikali ye dharma. Then 100 syllable mantra 3 times.
Oh, okay. I'm not seeing the Ali Kali.
Oh, it's not there. You're supposed to know that.
Oh.
Yes,
Oh,
yes. You're
I
supposed to
don't
know
know.
that. Yeah. Alikali ye dharma, alikali ye dharma, alikali ye dharma, and then 3 vajrasattwas. It's in the notes in the small print,
Oh,
page 25.
yes. Okay, I see it.
Yeah, it's in the small prints.
Yeah.
Yeah. In between the medicine Buddha mantra and the lineage prayer, it says at the end, recite the Sanskrit vowels and consonants. That's alikali.
Got it.
Then it says 100 syllable mantra, and then the mantra of interdependence. That's the ye dharma.
Okay. Right.
But the order that is given here is not how it's actually done.
Mhm.
Yeah. So you can look up Alikali and Ye Dharma easily on Google. Yeah. If you Google Alikali and Ye Dharma, you will pull it up. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you don't find it in our recitation book, the yellow book that we use at Urban Dharma, I don't know if you ever got a copy, it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are the blessing mantras. So there, yeah, you begin the way that it is done, as I was saying, is that in most of the time when other people like other lineages, you know, like even within Drigong, in some areas, you know, kind of in the peripheral area, it's that you do 3 alikali, then you do 3 ye dharmas, and then you do 3 vajrasattwas. Okay.
Different order.
Normally that's how it's done. Yeah. But here, the way it's done is alikali ye dharma. Okay. One time. Alikali ye dharma. Then again, alikali ye dharma. Then again, alikali ye dharma. Then 3 vajrasattwas.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Dr. Lee,
Yes.
please, a question. Harinisa, what colors are the goddess?
Oh, according the color of the dakinis.
Dakini, yes.
Yeah. So the syllable is according to that color.
Yeah. Harinisa, what
Yes.
color? What dakinis?
Huh?
Harinisa, what
Yes.
colors of the dakinis? You say that Ha was yellow?
No. Hari Nisa will follow the color of the dakinis.
Okay.
Yes. So white dakini is Ha. Yellow
Right.
dakini is Ri. Red dakini is Ni. Green dakini is Sa.
Ha,
So then the syllables are also those 4 colors.
okay. Ha is white dakini.
Yes.
Re, yellow dakini.
Yes.
Ni, what is ni? What did you say? What did you say, ni?
Don't try to memorize. Understand the theory going on here, right?
Okay.
East, south, west, north.
Oh,
East, south, west, north.
okay.
Yeah? So the colors are always fixed, like sand mandala. You cannot change, you know, white, yellow, red, green, always.
Okay.
Yeah. So when the 4 dakinis are there, you don't even need to ask what color they are. You know, she's going to be white. She's going to be yellow. You know, if she decides to be purple, you say, okay, bye-bye, go somewhere else. This belongs to yellow. Red is back here. Green is over here.
Okay, Doc. Thanks.
Yeah. So it's easy, you know, once you understand the concept, you don't need to try to memorize, you know, who is what color where. You remember the basic mandala system. Center blue,
Center blue.
in front white,
All right.
Now,
Yes.
sometimes these two are changed. Okay, don't panic. They are allowed to change sometimes. Meaning blue is in front, white is center, sometimes. All the others don't get to change, okay? All the other three, if they try to change, you say, no, not allowed. But white and blue can change, okay?
Okay. Okay.
Then always yellow is here, red is back there, and green is over there.
Okay.
Sometimes green is black. Sometimes. Yeah, it's a very dark green. It's not like the bright green that they usually paint it with.
Okay.
They say it's more like the green of like monsoon clouds, you know?
Uh-huh.
Or like when you bruise your hand, you know?
Yeah.
You bruise, that kind of green, kind of ugly.
Yeah.
It's actually that kind of green.
Okay.
But to make mandalas look pretty, you know, people now paint like, you know, the green, like grass green, you know. It's actually that kind of green. Shama in Sanskrit. Shama is that kind of blue-green.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Yes.
I was just going to comment that it's the offering to the unenlightened spirits. It's so profound, and it's exactly the same with Cho.
Yeah, here they are not being offered. Here you bring them to the mandala.
You're bringing, okay.
Yes, and they're all venerating Medicine Buddha.
Okay, yeah, that is different than
Yes.
offering.
Yeah, it's different. They are not being offered. They themselves are offering to Medicine Buddha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Thanks.
Yeah, slightly different, but the same principle. So I said here is to create the conditions whereby, you know, what we habitually label as good, what we habitually label as bad, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, doesn't matter. Bring them all into this mandala
Mm-hmm.
and have them face the Medicine Buddha.
Yeah.
Just bring them all. Leave them there. No judgment in that sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That-
there's some of these kind of peculiar elements that you don't normally find in other sadhana, in this particular sadhana.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Lai,
Yes.
I have a question. In the other programs, studies, readings that we've done,
Yes.
the figures have names.
Uh-huh.
But in the case of the Medicine Buddha, we are speaking about it only as the Medicine Buddha. We have
No, that's his name, actually.
Okay.
Vaisajya Guru.
What is that?
Vaisajya Guru.
Vaisa.
Yeah, in Sanskrit, Vaisajya Guru.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So it's just that it has become the norm in translation to translate the name rather than to leave the name as the name. Yeah. So Amitabha, right? Amitabha, again, this is just accidental in the West. In Tibetan, it's called Opatme. So if you apply the same translation principle to Opatme as you apply to Menla, okay? Menla is the Tibetan translation of the Sanskrit. Then you should not translate into Amitabha. You should translate into boundless light. Yeah?
Okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Dr. Lai, I had one more question.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the history, you mentioned that there was Yutor the elder and then Yutor the younger,
Yes.
connected to this medicine tradition. But I was wondering if the medicine Buddha was a Bodhisattva that was Yutor the elder, or no?
Eh?
Like
I
the
don't
history.
understand.
So there's stories for like Tara, right? Or different.
Yeah. No.
Cities.
No.
No story for
first
medicine
of all,
Buddha.
First of all, you have to be clear. Yuto Yongden Gompo elder, the first and the second, they are Tibetans.
Uh-huh.
Okay, medicine Buddha was taught in India first.
Okay.
So there, once you
Before.
understand that, right, you won't even say, yeah, oh, is Yuto Yongden Gompo like, the Bodhisattva that then became medicine Buddha? No.
Okay.
Yeah. So way before Yuto Yongden Gompo, yeah, already medicine Buddha practice in India.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can find online the Medicine Buddha Sutra, because in the Chinese tradition, especially, he's also very important. So I think they've already translated that sutra, and there it will tell the story of how Medicine Buddha became Medicine Buddha. That at one time he was this bodhisattva, then he had this name, then he made these 16 vows, and so his bodhisattva vows is, I think, 16 vows that he made. And then how he practiced for how many eons, and then finally he became a Buddha by the name of Baisatya Guru, which is the guru of healing, literally. But that's his name, it's not like a title, his name, Baisatya Guru. And then the qualities of Baisatya Guru's Pure Land and all of that, that's in the Medicine Buddha Sutra. You Google it and you'll find it. Yeah.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay. So I think next week we will dive into the beautiful supplication to the Lama prayer. Yeah. And then the final week, I said we planned 4 classes, right? Then the final week, we are going to look at all the other things that are in the sadhana and the parts that Jamon Kongtrul added. Yeah. Good. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So we should do dedication, a short dedication, bodhicitta, where it has not arisen, may it arise. Where it has arisen, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Right? Chanchu Semcho Rinpoche Ma Ge Banam Ge Gyurche Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Pa Gong Ne Gong Du Bel War Shu. One last thing, especially now, it's so important to practice more, to cultivate more absolute bodhicitta, which is the wisdom aspect. Because our experiences right now, for many of us, it's pretty serious, pretty heavy. We have all kinds of worries, concerns, some of them about ourselves, some of them about other people we know, and then some of them even about people we don't know, because you look out there and you see so many people having such a hard time, right? But before this becomes too heavy, then that is more suffering in the world. You're having suffering because you care about others. It's not going to make anyone suffer less. So first thing you have to do, you have to do more practice in absolute bodhicitta, particularly the Lojong 7-point Lojong method. Is a very, practical and very easy. Or if you have Mahamudra training, now is the time to make sure that that is the foundation of all your practices. First, you have to protect your own mind. Then in the Lojong 7 points, it says, how do you know it's working? You know it's working when you can maintain a joyful mind in the midst of all the ups and downs. If you think things are bad for yourself or for others, oh, trust me, it can get even worse. And maybe you forgot. You also have experienced it even worse. But now, so far away from the time when something that you experience is even worse, you think, oh no, that wasn't that bad. This is really bad. But this is really bad is why? It's because we are fixated on it, So it's really bad. If there is a badometer, I'm sure, most of us have experienced worse experiences than now. Really. If you've lived long enough, I'm sure you have experienced suffering even stronger than now. But you forget, because it's long time ago. Then you think, oh, this is really bad. And that's because, we cannot let go, And even if you have not experienced something this bad, like now, guess what? It can get even worse. So when you think about that, you're like, oh, so now it's pretty good. Yeah. Some kind of joy can come, Oh, so now it's pretty good. I don't know when it's going to get worse, so I'm just going to enjoy it now. So it's really important to get perspective. So I offered some of you some perspective on my Facebook, the most recent posting. Last night, I was supposed to do something else. I was supposed to look for some pictures for a website that I'm creating. By the way, I'm creating a new website for my own Dharma work. And so I was tasked by the people who are helping me build, or not helping me, they are building it. The people who are building the website tasked me to look for some picture for one section of this website. So I went back and looked at all my photos on the phone, and as I was looking at those photos, then I started seeing pictures specifically, not a lot, but pictures specifically that I've taken of basically street vendors that I've seen in my last few years of traveling at different places. I took pictures of them. I'm shy, and I know people maybe don't like that. So I'm also shy. I don't have a lot, but I found all these pictures where I could see each of them and their faces quite clearly. Then last night I was thinking, oh gosh, like I don't know how they are doing, because these types of informal economy, and who is out there buying stuff, nobody is out there buying stuff. And for many of them, it's actually tourists that they were relying on, but all tourists are gone now, And I thought, oh my gosh, I hope they are well, pray that they are well, But you pray for them, of course, but you also know, there's nothing you can do in this case directly, but indirectly when you pray for them, it will help ripen their karma, their positive karma. Of course, they have positive karma. Even someone as like Hitler had positive karma hidden somewhere in their mind stream. If enough prayers were done for them, it could ripen their positive karma and make them see and make them experience this in a better way. So I was saying, well, during this pandemic, to the degree that we are doing prayers and practices like to dispel the pandemic, we have to think we do this, for others. For ourselves, we should take the Lojong way, which is not like going around collecting suffering. I don't mean that. Lojong as in change your mind, meaning now difficulties have come. Rather than seeing them as difficulties, remind yourself, I've taken the Bodhisattva vow and I have learned the Lojong tradition. So now is the time. Sort of like, bring it on. Because now is the time I can change my mind fundamentally how I habitually relate to things. Now is the time to change. So with regards to ourselves, actually, my suggestion, is don't do too much about, oh, take this away from me, take this suffering away from me. No. You have received enough teachings already that now is the time. Not to pray for suffering to disappear from you, but to pray for the ability to really turn this around. Then for others who don't have Dharma in the palm of their hands, we do Medicine Buddha for them. We do Panashavari for them. We do Achi for them. We do Tara for them because they really need it. Extra help like that. But for those of us who have the Dharma, who have Lojong, who have Bodhicitta, now is the best time. So it's the best of times, it's the worst of times. No contradiction, It's the best of times, it's the worst of times. And as long as you don't suddenly find yourself at the guillotine, be happy. Good night.
Thank you.